Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. Hey guys, it's Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and today we have a former wrestler on our episode, and he is a former wrestler turned real estate investor. Hey, that rhymes. That's kind of cool. But he runs his own podcast. It's Wrestling with Real Estate. He came from outside of the U.S., so he was in the U.K. While he was in the U.K., I don't know if y'all remember, but there was that show Gladiators. So there was a U.K. version of it. And he was actually one of the people on the UK version of Gladiators. And then, let's see, who were you for your wrestling name?
Mason Ryan was my wrestling name.
There we go. And he was on he was on Monday Night Raw, and he wrestled against people like, is it John Cena?
Yeah.
So super cool stuff. And I just kind of think back to like some things I've learned about people that are big in sports and big in athletics. Y'all are a different group of people. You have that
maybe
tendency.
crazy, maybe in a crazy way, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think it's more that y'all set goals and you just barrel through them. So that's kind of been my take on it. It's kind of cool because I think that can be a real benefit in the real estate investing world. And so that's kind of exciting. When I was reading back through your bio too, I saw where you were investing, and then when you hit that illustrious $1 million asset mark, you decided to change up some of the stuff you were doing. Do you want to talk about that, or give us a brief intro on yourself if I didn't hit anything? Or
Yeah. Well, first of all, just like anything, thank you for having me on. I'm glad we were able to make it. We had some timing, scheduling, all kinds of technical issues, but just like anything, right? You make it happen. So I know I had you on my show. That was awesome. So I'm very, very excited to be on your show, which is pretty cool. Try and make a long story short, because I'm terrible at this, but long story short, grew up in Wales in the UK, tiny little town, worked for my dad as a contractor and also part-time funeral director / undertaker. We can get into that afterwards if you want.
wow.
I should include that in my bio. I think I don't know why I haven't. I should. That's kind of interesting, I guess. So worked for him, but it wasn't something I enjoyed. In the meantime, I was lifting weights and training and sculpting my body, I guess. I never competed bodybuilding, anything. I just loved training and eating right. It's just something I enjoyed. So created the physique, was like, okay, I got to do something with this. I'm training, I don't drink. I'm in the gym on a Saturday night where everyone else is in the pub getting drunk. So I'm kind of a professional already. Might as well do something with it. Stumbled across professional wrestling, which isn't big at all in the UK. Started wrestling through luck. I got a break to start wrestling in the UK. Wrestled full time for a while, but that's nowhere near as glamorous as people might think. As it's nothing like wrestling full time over here in the US or WWE or anything. But I was doing that for a few years. I then got a break and met with WWRE. They offered me a contract. They flew me out to Tampa, Florida, which was unreal. A small town boy, like used to nothing but rain all year round, moving to Tampa, Florida, all the amazing beaches and sun and beautiful weather and everything else. Was there, trained at their facility for about a year. They have a training facility where they train all the new talent. Debuted on Monday Night Raw about a year later after that. Did some pay-per-views, some cool stuff, wrestled some big names, traveled the world, probably been to every city in the US, but could only tell you what the gym and the hotel and the arena looks like, maybe the airport too. And then that came to an end. Then got a gig with Cirque Du Soleil. And I now work for Cirque Du Soleil out in Las Vegas in their show car at the MGM Grand, which is a really cool gig. We're not working right now, but hopefully maybe start of next year we'll get back to work. It's a little rough out here. But while doing this, so I was, kind of being an entertainer for a while now, for about 14, 15 years. And there was a point at the end of my WWE career where I realized that I have no plan B, right? You talk about athletes setting goals and being focused and being, I guess, having that tunnel vision, focusing on one thing. Well, I had that. I had no plan B though. So it's great to kind of get you somewhere and to focus and to block out everything else and to really focus in on something and be dedicated to that. But I didn't have a plan B because I was going to be the world heavyweight champion. Like, I had no doubts about it, right? I didn't scream it from, it wasn't arrogance because I worked hard, right? I was just had that confidence, I would say, what it was. But I always thought I was going to be the world heavyweight champion. I don't know. And I'm not always that confident in everything, but I just had a feeling and thought that my hard work and everything would pay off. But I had no plan B. So that's where real estate came in. So when WWE came to a screeching halt, like I didn't expect things to come to a halt when they did, I had a nearly $2,600 a month mortgage payment. I just bought a house. So I had the $2,600 mortgage payment. I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Ended up renting it out. Through that, I started looking into real estate because I had to look up tenant laws and how to screen a tenant and all this stuff. And I think through that, stumbled across real estate and thought, okay, this is a great plan B. I love real estate. From that point on, I think I fell in love with real estate. And now I'm all about real estate. And I think it's a great plan B. And it's something I can create a lifestyle for myself that, I guess that I deserve or that I want, and that is going to make my life what I think it should be. So that's how I ended up in real estate. Now I'm all in on real estate. As you mentioned, I have a podcast, a YouTube channel, and all of the above, I guess. And I'm just all in on real estate. So because it's my plan B, but my plan A as well, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And I think too, you kind of got to back up a little bit because you talked about, you learned about the tenant laws and you learned about all of that, but there had to be like some desire there, because a lot of people could have just looked at that mortgage and been like, oh, I'm done, and just belly upped, and you didn't.
Yeah. I think what it was a few things, right? So for one, I was going to be the world heavyweight champion, but then all of a sudden everything came to a halt, right? So it's not like, I was just going to wrestle. I was going to get to the top. So when that came to an end, it was a rough part of my life, to be honest. It was, I wasn't the happiest person in the world at the time when that came to a halt, right? But at the same time, I bought this amazing house because I was going to be the world heavyweight champion, so I could afford to buy this expensive house, right? And I bought this house and I bought it on water because I thought that was a good investment because I thought they're not making any more water.
Yeah.
So it was like, so long run, they could be worth some money. It was just a theory. It didn't really make too much sense. It didn't turn out to be a good investment. But the dream had kind of come to an end and I bought this amazing house and I was like, okay, I'm not letting this house go. My dream is kind of gone, but I'm not letting this house go. I would wake up every morning and the sun would be coming up and it was over this water and it was beautiful. Like it was like, I think there was like 12 windows, like almost floor to ceiling windows in my bedroom. So we would leave the curtains off and you just see the sun coming up every morning. It was just amazing. I loved the house. So I was like, okay, I'm not letting this go. What do I need to do to keep this house? And I just bought it, right? This was in April and I bought it in January. So there was no way I was going to get more than what I paid for, right? The market wasn't like that at the time. There wasn't that appreciation going on or anything like that. So I had to figure out, what am I going to do? Do I sell this house at a loss or do I keep this house and hopefully live in it long term? Now, I've since sold that because that changed. But at the time, that was my mindset. And I was like, I think that stubbornness and that, I don't know, determination, I guess, that I had that got me to wrestling and got me to do a lot of these cool things, kind of stepped in that time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take this house, turn it into a rental house, keep a hold of it. And then hopefully I'll come back at some point when I figure stuff out, but I'm not selling it. I'm just not. My wife was like, let's just sell it. This is just causing you so much headaches. I was like, no, I'm not selling it. This is just such an amazing house. And I think also maybe going back as well to the real estate thing, I said that I work in my father's construction company, but that construction company started over 100 years ago. Now my great granddad started it. So I think I had that, that, I don't know, entrepreneurial, maybe like, and my granddad built some triplexes when I was running it. So I think subconsciously, that kind of kicked in there as well. But yeah, the main thing was that I didn't want to add another disappointment, another, down point in my life to kind of getting rid of that house as well, because like the dream coming to an end of being the world champion and then having to sell my house would have been just kind of almost too much at that point, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, going back to like what you said about your family, I mean, you kind of had that family tradition like bred into you, where like, I know like my husband and I both come from real estate families too. So having real estate isn't off the wall to us. It's kind of a natural progression. And you probably, I mean, it sounds like you kind of fall into that too, of that just natural progression of being involved in real estate somehow, whether that's construction side or ownership side.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I also noticed that you have done some passive investing. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I invested some money. So I'm part of, I don't know, any of your listeners know who Joe Fearless is. They probably do if they're interested in multifamily real estate investing. When I started out, so I'll backtrack a little bit, make a long story long again, but I'm good at that. So when I started, so I found out about real estate investing, moved to Vegas, decided I wanted to invest out here, research bigger pockets, all that other stuff, started reading books. And I was like, okay, just like most people, right? You buy a house 20% down on the MLS, and then you scale from there, you get cash flow from that. And that's how you create that cash flow that you can live off. So I figured out I would need 40 single family properties to do that. And I didn't know about apartment investing, multifamily investing at the time. I had no idea, never heard of it. But I met someone, through bigger pockets, met them for coffee, and they were like, 40 single family homes, that's kind of a lot, right? I was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot. But do you know you can
that's
buy
a lot.
Like,
holy night.
Yeah, that is, especially in Vegas as well. Like, it's not the most expensive, but it's definitely not somewhere in the Midwest or something where you can pick a house up for 40 grand or something. So he's like, you can buy just one apartment complex, right? And you can get $40 and you'll get there in like one deal. And I was like, what? Say that again? Yeah, you can buy just one apartment complex with $40 and you'll be there in one deal. Now you need more money. It's not quite the same, but it's way more scalable. So he's like, listen to this podcast, read this. So I did. I blew through all the podcasts. I think they were Jake and Gino and Michael Blanc podcast. Blew through all of them, read articles on bigger pockets. I was like, wow, okay. Not only can I get there sooner, but I can go even further and get even bigger than what I even thought about. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me do that. So started researching, started looking at properties, learning the lingo stuff. And I was like, wow, this is just a lot to learn, right? It's kind of like single family, but it's not. There's a lot more sophistication to it and you've got a lot more to learn. So it's like, okay, this is kind of freaking me out now. I'm worried I'm going to buy a deal, I'm going to lose everything and whatnot, right? It's just a lot. So I looked for coaches. I started researching about finding a coach and stumbled across Joe and had a call with Joe, and I really liked who he was as a person because that was important to me when finding a coach. And that's, I guess, there's a few subjects that can kind of come from this, but I liked who he was as a person, what he stood for, and obviously he's very successful as well. So I hired him as a coach. So through that, I was talking to him about the market, blah, 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 this and that, and I had some money sitting aside, and he was like, well, why don't you invest in my deal, and I'll make you a general partner in the deal. You can be a general partner, you can I invested $50K, and you can be a general partner. You can be on the GP side and still make that passive income as well. So I ended up investing that $50K and being a general partner. But I did some stuff, looked at the underwriting, looked at the deal, did some active stuff up front to make me a general partner on the deal. But ultimately also I'm making that passive, so I invested on both sides, right, the GP and on the LP.
Oh, awesome.
So that makes sense, but also it's cool as well for a few reasons. Okay, obviously to be a passive investor, it's great. It's that mailbox money. You don't have so much to worry about. It just comes in and you get to, I always say you're standing on the shoulder of giants, right? When you're in passive investing, if you pick the right team, right? Because Joe has built his team. He has a great partner. He has a track record. He's done this over and over and over, and he's just growing and growing. So I'm standing on his shoulders with this deal, with that passive investing and making that return. But also as I'm looking to bring on passive investors in deals from my future deals, I'm learning how they report, right? They report monthly. What do they put in the email? What do they report? What do they say? How do they handle when things go slightly wrong? So it's all that things, right? It's the enjoyment of that passive investing, which is great for a lot of people, and we can talk about that as well. I think it's phenomenal. The ability to invest passively in a large apartment complex is amazing, but also learning how successful people are doing it and being there the whole way. So it's all of that.
Yeah, well, my husband is all about getting ready and wanting to go active side, wanting to sit GP side, and I'm just like, Oh, but that's so much work. It's so much nicer to just get those distributions and not have to work all that hard for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, the thing is, it's the decision with your time and what you're trying to achieve, right? It's what your goals are, and yeah, you can get a much better return if you're on the GP side, on you, but you're sacrificing your time, right? You're exchanging your time for dollars in some extent with that, but at the same time, you're getting a higher return. And with obviously being a limited partner on a deal, you're just literally vetting whoever you're working with at the start, vetting the deal, and once you've sent that money off, all you do is read a monthly or quarterly email that they sent you and make sure everything is as it should be. And then from there, you just cash in checks, Or if you get direct deposit, you don't even have to do that. You just make sure the money's in there every month.
yeah, that's kind of what I like about it.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So you said you started out with single family. Was it single family there in Vegas or was it somewhere else?
So technically he was that first one, right? He became an accidental landlord. It was that first property that I bought to live in, and then I had to rent it out.
So the one in Florida?
The one in Florida,
okay.
Yeah. So I had to rent it out because, like I said, I wasn't going to sell it. So it wasn't bought as an investment property. Wasn't a terrible investment because I about broke even maybe after sale, maybe make a little bit money. But initially, because it was, I was paying my mortgage payment was $2,550, actually not $2,600, $2,550. So that's a high mortgage payment, right? So your tenant pool for that kind of a property is pretty small, right? It's like, especially for someone like us who doesn't know how to advertise, doesn't have a team. We didn't really know about property management or anything like that. Plus, market rent for that area was maybe $2,600 at the time. What happened was we found someone after looking for a while, and I was bleeding money. I was like, okay, we found someone that's interesting, but they wanted to pay $2,300. But what they were going to do was put blinds on all of the house, because the house had a ton of windows, so many windows. And when we bought it, we didn't have the blinds, and we were going to do that, but stuff happened, and then I lost my job, blah blah blah. So he was going to blind, but the blinds was probably worth about $8,000 worth of blinds. So I was making negative cash flow, but they put the blinds in, so it probably over the course of the thing probably worked out even. But so we got that, and then I got someone in that for $2,600 after that person. So it was just maybe breaking even, maybe not, because stuff goes wrong in houses. Houses just don't stay perfect the whole time. But from that, my first real investment property was a townhome here in Las Vegas. It was a foreclosure. I started looking around, found this townhome, bought it for $173,000. It was going to rent for $1,300, but I put about maybe $10K into it to fix it because it was a foreclosure and it needed some work. So put about $10K into it. So it was all in for about $183. It was renting for $1,300. So most people, are aware of maybe the 1% rule. When you get whatever you buy it for, your monthly rent is what equates to that. So if you buy a house for $100,000, your monthly rent would be $1,000. So it didn't meet that. But here in Vegas, things are a little different. You don't need to meet the 1% rule for stuff to cash flow decently, because there's no state tax, right? There's no state tax here, right? So there's no state tax. So you're avoiding some taxes like that. Also, you avoid a lot of expenses because it's sunny all year round here, right? It hardly ever rains. It rains like once every 3 months or something like that. You don't have snow removal. Most yards don't have grass. Plus, this was in a HOA, and it was cheap. It was like $95 a month. So it wasn't a bad HOA, and they take care of everything on the outside of the building, I think, including the roofs, any landscaping, and all that stuff. So with that, I think I was all in with my mortgage was for $950, and the mortgage was $1,300. So I was cash flowing. Well, you have expenses, but I was about $350 there. So take away maybe $200 of that. So it was maybe cash flowing $150 a month on that property. So it was pretty good. I think I was all in for maybe $42,000 of my own cash. So I don't know what that is, a cash on cash. I never did the calculation, but it worked out pretty good. You know, it was a solid deal, and it got me in the game, right? More than anything, I think that first investment property for a lot of people is that proof of concept, right? It's that money that you make every month, right? You get that money in, and it's like, wow, cash flow. This is so nice that I'm making this money. I didn't lose everything yet. There was some mistakes along the way, though. There was some stuff that went wrong. I think me and my wife, we tried to fix one of the faucets in the bathroom. So we unscrewed the faucet, took the top off, and was going to replace it. And we were like, oh, this is strange. Something's wrong here. Anyway, we went to do something else, and then we realized, oh, we need to turn the water on. So we went into the main line in the street, turned the water on, and we're like, is the water on? I don't know. Can't hear anything. And we're in the street. So like, about 2 or 3 minutes went by. All right, let's go in. We walk in and we go upstairs, and there's water everywhere because we took the top off the faucet. So it was just been, and it was doing that. So ran back out, turned it back out, water everywhere. Luckily, we were able to like get towels and sponge it all off. And it was in the bathroom, so obviously there was tile flooring or something like that. But it had gone onto the carpet a little bit. Anyway, we had a ton of towels luckily in the car, sponged it all off, dried it, and had a big learning lesson there. And then within like a week of in the property, the water heater gave out on us as well. But luckily, I bought a home warranty. So I think I bought a home warranty for about $350 or something like that. And people can debate whether home warranty is worth it or not, but I had it on that one or another property I had, and I think it was worth it. It gave me peace of mind to some extent. And within that first week, I got my $350 back tenfold, because I can't remember how much I had to pay. It was very insignificant, and they completely put in a new water heater as well. So, there was some interesting times at that, but I think we talked about this before. What I kept telling myself at the time, and I think for people to remember, is if you really want to be in real estate investing, you've got to realize that there's going to be challenging times, and it's better to have these challenges and own rental real estate, right? Some people give their left leg to be able to have these problems and own real estate, and you've just got to remember that. So yeah, and that one ended up being it wasn't a home run or anything like that, but it was definitely, like they say, a base hit. I'm from the UK, so I don't know if I'm that familiar with baseball terminology, but I get it. I get what it means.